Hello, Module 1 students. Changes in the context of the social world and the concept of sufficiency economy philosophy in Module 1. We are still at Submodule 1.3, Sustainable Development Methods and Approaches. In terms of sustainable development format and approaches, there are a total of 5 important topics. Now we come to the topic 1.3.3, the Sustainable Development Goals in Education. In the Sustainable Development Goal for Education, there are subtopics, one of which is the creation of quality educational opportunity comprehensively and equitably. In this clip video, we will talk about creating quality educational opportunities thoroughly and equitably. In this keyword, it appears in HDG 4. In creating quality educational opportunity thoroughly and equitably, we will discuss 2 sub-issues: the key principle of creating inclusive and equitable quality educational opportunities and the guidelines of creating inclusive and equitable quality educational opportunities. Therefore, to create comprehensive and equitable educational opportunity is it to reduce inequality. Now, in order to reduce inequality, there are 3 important elements that need to be taken into account. The first element is the opportunity cell. The second element is the outcome, and the third element is the impact aspect, which means that is the management of education to try to reduce inequality. We must look at education. We will get the opportunity. It is given the opportunity to all and equal. Then he gets the opportunity. What result does he get from receiving the education? For example, once educated, there is knowledge, have skills and desirable attribute, which is result when the impact will be have when he had the skill and characteristics and the knowledge that he preferred. The third element, so learners will have complete knowledge, skills and characteristics, can have a career and have a job. Therefore, in order to reduce the disparity of the educational opportunities, it is necessary to create a rate of access to information and sources of knowledge. In addition, it's necessary to improve the quality of teaching to learning educational institutions to be consistent in all areas and at all grade level. It can be seen that to reduce inequality, it is necessary to give people the opportunity to access information. Therefore, one of the important tools to enable people to access information is to use technology through various internet networks. It is necessary for the state to provide internet service to the public. We can support access to the various information. In addition, the quality of education is very low. In the country must be the equal quality. So if we can implement these 2 things, it will reduce the disparity of the education opportunity to a certain extent. So the thought-provoking question is in this section. What tools should teachers use to encourage students to have comprehensive and equitable access to the information and knowledge resources? We come to the key principle that we will support the creation of quality educational opportunity comprehensively and equitably, which we have 4 principles. The first principle is the rule of law. The second principle is the principle of education for all. The third principle is the principle of quality. The fourth principle is the principle of integrated education, which will go one by one. I would like to expand on one principle at a time. The first principle is the principle of law. The legal principle is the provision of the inclusive and equitable education is stipulated in the Constitution of the Kingdom of Thailand 2017, stipulated in Chapter 5 for the State Duties. Article 54 stipulates that the state must ensure that all children receive quality education of 12 years from the preschool to compulsory education free of charge. The National Education Act 1999 is in line with the Constitution of Kingdom of Thailand, which is stipulated in Chapter 2. Article 10 of the Right An obligation of education stipulates that manager of education must provide individuals with the right and quality to receive basic education for not less than 20 years, which have the state must provide thoroughly and qualitatively free of charge. It can be noted that two laws are related to each other. The National Quality Act itself stipulates that it must not be less than 12 years old, which is not contrary to the Constitution, because of the Constitution stipulated that it must be 12 years old. Therefore, compulsory education, the basic education stipulated in the Act, studies that say at least 12 years that the state must provide quality free of charge. The thought-provoking question is whether the state provides it free of charge, whether they are the expenses of the government support in the provision of education provided by the state for children and youth. Principle 2. Education for all. In this picture, we can see that the education manager is for people from birth to old age, or from or to point of death. Therefore, education here is called lifelong learning. In lifelong learning education, it is observed that there are three forms of education: formal education, outside the system, and then at leisure. We will continue to observe that before the school and after school, most of the time, non-formal education is used for informal education, but during the school age, most of the time formal education is used. It is further noted that information education and informal education are education that can be accessed by people of all ages. So, what is formal education? The measurement is in the clear and fixed pattern, but is it an non-formal education? It determines that a learning method determines the subject of a measurement and set a subject of curriculum flexibility. As for informal education, is it an education that depends on the individuals who want to learn anything, find a way to enter education? As for today, will be a tools and tool that support us to be able to access education at our leisure, anytime, anywhere, is through the internet. The third principle is the principle of quality, which is the principle of quality. Quality refers to the characteristics of the product, service, system, or process that must be met, then create the highest satisfaction for customer. Therefore, in the management of education, which provides an important service, it is a service to provide learning and education. In addition, there are other services such as learning resources service, course service in the term of various further development activity focusing on service, must creating satisfaction and satisfying customer. Research information on what customer need, which is aligned with the principle that learners are important. Therefore, the National Education Act stipulates in Article 47 that there shall be education quality assurance system to improve the quality and standard of education, which will consist of internet quality assurance system and an external quality assurance system that will be the quality principles. In quality assurance operations, whether internal, or external, there are three important principles. The second principle is to open up opportunity for participation in work. The third principle is show verifiable responsibility. Let's move on to the first principle, the principle of quality assurance of education. The third principle is that decentralization is required. In decentralization, education institutions need to have independence, flexibility in management, whether is it academic work, budget, personal and resources in the management of education. We can see that in terms of economic education, institutions are able to develop their own curriculum with the participation of people in all sectors. As for the budget, educational institutions also allocate budgets through the presentation of annual action plans in order to spend the budget systematically. As for personnel, it is a government agency. The allocation of manpower may come from the government, but it is educational institutions. They are free to plan of the manpower rate. Educational special personnel according to their abilities. according to the budget income of the education institution. And for other resources, the school can also manage and decide to use it. Therefore, educational institutions, as mentioned above, there are many activities that show the decentralization of education. Therefore, the thought-provoking question in this part is, what action or activity are carried out in educational institutions that represent the decentralization of education power? Principle 2. Opening up opportunity participation in work. We can see that in educational institutions, there are quite a lot of orders to appoint working committee in various parts of educational institution. The appointed committee will be the committee that form all sectors, whether it is exclusive personal support staff, teacher, or sometimes there may be outsiders involved in the management of the education institution. Therefore, the thought-provoking question in this part. In education institution, there are committees or working group that demonstrate participation in work. Principle 3. In terms of quality principle, quality can only be achieved when auditable responsibilities are expressed, also known as accountability. Accountability is only possible when the learners, partners, and community are recognized. We need to know that what the school is doing. Therefore, it is necessary for educational institutions to communicate what they are doing to learners, parents, and the community so these groups can participate in the development. In addition to participating in development, it is also involved in monitoring what the school is doing. It is to lead leaders to the set standards. Therefore, the thought-provoking question in this part is, how do educational institutions communicate with learners, parents, and community? The third principle is the principle of inclusive education, also known as inclusive education. Inclusive education refers to the provision of educational service to all children regardless of their differences. So by the principle, the concept in whole human being have the right of education, equal education opportunity. All human beings have an equal right to coexist in the same society, and the management of teaching and learning in a classroom itself will meet the differences of each learner in a concept. In conclusion, each person is different, but education have a duty to respond to each people differently. As for the management of integrated classes, there are the principles. There are 7 principles in the total. The first principle is every student have the right to basic education and the provision of the combined curriculum. Therefore, basic education in Thailand is education from primary to secondary education or vocational education, which is right, and every student have the right to receive. The management of the basic education at various levels mentioned above must apply the concept of integrated education management, namely, everyone has the same rights. People are different, but they have the same opportunity to receive the same education. Every student has their own unique values and abilities, which means that everyone is different, but everyone is unique in that difference. The third principle is that inclusive education must promote the learner of study where students are in their classes. For example, some people may be slow to study, some students may be slow to write books. Some people may be slow to calculate. Some people may have impairments such as visual impairment. Therefore, these children must be encouraged to study with normal children. The third principle of collective learning is every student have a different way of learning and slows a different understand. Therefore, in the third principle, teacher must have a variety of teaching and learning management methods to meet the different set of learners with a different learning method. Principle 5 of integrated learning management, all students will learn well only if they are educated. The appropriate model which responds to the point 4, it is once that teacher had analyzed a different set of individuals learners. The teacher can choose the learner management model. Is it suitable for each learner? Therefore, it is necessary to provide a variety of learning management methods to meet different needs. In principle, all students should have the opportunity to study and ensure equal quality of education. This means that the management of education in the classroom needs to take into account quality the teacher will receive. The last principle is that the community and society are involved in the management of inclusive education. That is, which education must provide opportunities for network partners to participate in the management of education. Therefore, education management needs to have stakeholders, whether it's learners, partners, social community, villagers have participated in the management of education. Therefore, the thought-provoking question at a classroom level is how teachers should design learning management to support the principle of integrated education. In the next topic, once we know the third principle, how can we make that successful in order to make education of equal quality and comprehensiveness? Therefore, in the topic, the concept of creating quality educational opportunities in a comprehensive and quotable manner in process. In this picture, we can see that the word comprehensive is board. The word equality means equal treatment or opportunity. So the picture that said it is or overall, we can see that three people, they are different heights, but three people receive a wooden box. One box for each person, but in another picture, three people with differences. It can be seen that when you receive a wooden box, a person with a very high height can stand up and see more clearly, but a person with the smallest height, even if you have received one wooden box, you still cannot see the field. Therefore, the wood through mean pair with the wood equality. Therefore, when we see inferior people, they have the lowest height. We give him two boxes instead of one. A lot of people with the lowest height can see the field. The most will be able to see that the field as before. Therefore, this is a matter of quality. Therefore, the height throughout and quality have always been used together. In organizational education to create opportunity comprehensively, there are two approaches, the government approach and the school approach. So what is a government approach? In the terms of comprehensiveness, the state provides education for local person to receive basic education for at least 12 years old free of charge. What is for everyone quality? And they provide everyone with access to long life education as well as providing opportunity for all sections to participate in the management of education. But inequality with the state is try to distribute education opportunity using educational institution as a base because each education institution is different. Therefore, it is necessary to decentralize the power of contract and management itself. In addition to achieve quality, the state is trying to monitor the quality of education management by setting education standards at each level as tools to be used to monitor the quality of the education. In addition, the government guidelines have stipulated in the National Equality Plan. Education management must provide a comprehensive education that is in every classroom, whether it is a normal child or a child with a special need will receive equal education. The next approach, the approach of education institution, will also be divided into two parts. An education institution will provide education thoroughly and equally. In general, the educational institutions have adopted the policy of the government that is provide basic education for individuals for at least 12 years old free of charge, and then try to develop people of all ages according to their readiness and ability, so that they have the knowledge, skills, and desirable distributed. That's it. They have the ability to live, work, live with others in society, as well as to try the parents of learners and the community to participate in the development of quality of learners. As for quality, when the state have a decentralized power to educational institutions. Educational institutions try to organize available educational resources in order to manage the development of learner-centered learning education. The school itself provides an internal quality assurance system and an external quality assurance system that will lead learner to the standard to ensure that the learner receive equal education, and the fund of learning management focus on learners that is responding to the differences of each learner. Therefore, the thought-provoking question in this part is what kind of education is suitable for the development of people for all ages? What should teachers do before designing learning management that caters to individual differences? From the above, creating comprehensive and equal educational opportunities is to reduce inequalities by using field principle, the rule of law, principles of education for all, the principle of education quality, and the principle of inclusive education with guidelines to promote both government and education institutions to make educational opportunity inclusive and equitable. If students are interested, they will learn more from online channels that can be seen on the screen. Next, we will talk about the development of life skills, work skills, and entrepreneurship to be able to develop sustainably. Goodbye.